my name is Elizabeth Howell, and I'm the native speaker tailoring tutor here at Bree English Tutoring. As my title suggests, I'm a native English speaker here in America, and I'm here today to hopefully help you all out, work out some phrasing issues you may have. But first, I want to let you all know that we have a Discord server linked down below. We are a complete non-profit organization who truly wants to help you all learn. If you're interested in more interactive help with us, please join. We'd love to see you there. Okay, let's get into the lesson. So, in today's content, we are going to be talking about common collocations. And if you don't know what that means, don't worry, we're going to cover that too. And we're also going to talk about how to avoid awkward phrases and phrasing in everyday speech. So, what are collocations? Definitionally, collocations are words that often go together, but for non-native speakers, they may not be expected to be paired, or they may have a slightly different meaning than you would think they would. So, some examples of this are fast food, break the news, and take your time. So, let's dive a little bit into these phrasings. So, fast food. Fast food is called fast food because it literally means food that is cooked/produced fastly or quickly in more proper English. In this case, the collocation is quite literal. You get your food fast after you order it. Now, break the news is less literal than fast food is, and this is important to realize that not all collocations are as literal as fast food. So, break the news is typically holding a negative connotation, and it means where you break a person's ignorance and inform them of the news. So, this doesn't have to be literal world news, and it doesn't need to be completely devastating or super deep. So for example, I could say, I'm going to break the news to you, the listener, that most calico cats are female. That is breaking the news. Maybe I'm breaking your ignorance on the fact that maybe you didn't know that. You thought there was like a 50-50 ratio, but there's not. So I'm breaking the news to you. Breaking instead of break, by the way, because I am currently doing that. So I added an ing at the end of break. So I am breaking the news to you is current, and if I was to say, oh, I'm going to break the news to them, is future tense, if that makes sense to you. I broke the news would be past tense. So the next one is take your time. And when not used sarcastically, it is usually a very generous and lighthearted phrase that basically means don't rush, I can wait. So you may use this when waiting to use something or while wanting to talk to somebody but they're currently busy. So you would be like, oh, don't worry, take your time. I'm not in a rush. You don't need to rush. That's basically what this means. But it is very important to note that the opposite meaning can be true if it's used in a sarcastic tone. So if someone was like, oh, take your time, that would definitely mean the opposite, trying to speed that person up. So, oh, I've got all the time in the world is another very common one. When used sarcastically, that one's generally only used sarcastically. In my personal experience, it just basically means please hurry up, in a more rude tone as well. So that's important to keep in mind. Now, some popular collocations are make a choice, catch a cold, take a break for the verbs plus noun combo. So make a choice is usually when faced with multiple options, you need to make a choice. So, do you want to eat pizza or tacos tonight? You need to make that choice. You need to make a choice. Catch a cold rather than get a cold, which is also technically proper English. It's never really used. So if you would say, oh, I hope I don't catch a cold, you could also say, oh, I hope I don't get a cold. But people really often use they really use catch a cold in my experience, and it's good to know what this means. Even if someone does say, oh, I hope I don't get a cold instead of catch a cold, you'll at least know what this means in case you do ever encounter someone who says catch a cold. Now, take a break, it's basically meaning, you want to rest. Oh, I hope I can take a break, or I'm going to take a break. I'm going to rest. That's just what that means. Strong coffee. Now, this does not mean that your coffee has muscles. Unfortunately, that would be very. That might be very weird, actually. I don't like the idea of that. But strong coffee just means very high in caffeine, unfiltered. Well, not necessarily unfiltered, but it's more intense, I guess, than a coffee that's diluted with cream and sugar. So that's a strong coffee. Some people will say, oh, I like my coffee strong. And that just means they kind of like it more raw, I guess is the proper way to express it. I'm not a coffee drinker myself, but that's how I would describe it. Heavy traffic, again, this is not a literal one. This would just mean that there's a lot of traffic. So you could say, oh, there was a lot of traffic today, or you could say, oh, there was very heavy traffic. There was heavy traffic. And that just means it was very populated and there was a lot of different cars or vehicles, and you had to keep stopping and it was going very slow. Now, key issue. This is a phrase that means a certain issue. So key in this context does not mean a literal key like a lock and a key. It just means the kind of important part, if that makes sense. So if you want to think of a key and a lock, the key is the key to this the important part, right? The solution to opening the lock. So in this case, it is the important issue. So if someone says, I have a key issue with this, or this is the key issue, it means it is the main / important issue. And, some people will use this as plural as well. They'll be, oh, these are the key issues. So they'll just tap on an S to this issue right here, and that will make it plural. Traffic jam, it's the same thing as heavy traffic, but it think of like a paper jam, which is just basically when a printer is being difficult and doesn't want to print because the paper is, well, jammed in the like mechanical part of the printer. I'm not sure how to properly word that because I am not a printer geek, but that is think of jam in that sense rather than jelly. And then traffic, obviously a bunch of cars on the road, so there's a traffic jam. So it's again although a traffic jam would suggest that there is no movement at all or very little movement, while heavy traffic might technically be a little bit lighter than being in a traffic jam. Data breach. This is a more computery term. Right here. So your data or your information is being breached, which means it is being like approached. Usually not by a good person, usually by a hacker. That's what that means. It just means if you take off the B right here, you get reach. That's pretty much the meaning, at least in my knowledge of the word. Language barrier. Now this is a more literal one for our non-native English speakers to make it a little bit easier. This one is pretty vivid in its imagery, which I really enjoy about it. But language barrier, just think of you speak one language, the other person speaks a different language, you don't know anything about the other person's language, you're trying to speak to each other, but there's a barrier, there's a wall between you. You don't understand, That's what language barrier means. Now, feel free. These three right here are more vivid ones as well, and I really, really enjoy them. Feel free just means feel open, feel, relaxed. Go crazy means, kind of let loose, but not in the sense that feel free does. Now, go crazy means more so energetic, more energy, more think like partying or stuff like that. You might go crazy at a party, but you might feel free to take your shoes off at in a friend's car or something. I don't know. You feel comfortable, if that makes sense. Now, get ready usually means to either prepare yourself for something in a sense where you might be getting ready for a game or a tournament or something like that, or you might just be getting ready for the day. You might be getting dressed, you might be doing your hair and stuff like that. That's what getting ready means. So you get ready. Now, avoiding awkward phrasing. So this is our first one, is don't say do a mistake, you say make a mistake. Okay, so you could say in this example, if you said I hope I don't do a mistake, that wouldn't be proper. No one really says that. You would say I hope I don't make a mistake. Now, the next one is married with someone. You are not, you technically are married with someone, but you would rather say you're married to someone. So that's one to keep in mind as well. And this is the third one right here, is I don't know nothing and I don't know anything. So you already have a negative in this phrase, so you don't need to put nothing there, because it kind of like there's two negatives in the sentence, right? Well, instead of anything is positive, the world is your oyster in this sense, but you don't have anything, so therefore it is nothing. So you would say I don't know anything, which basically means this, but it's less contradictory because there isn't two negatives. This is canceling out this, if that makes sense. So this one is yesterday I go to the store rather than yesterday I went to the store. Go is not a past tense, so that's why you would put went instead of go. It's because this is also coinciding with yesterday, when go is not coinciding with yesterday. So now we have a mini quiz time. Yay! It's just 2 questions and it's not too difficult, so don't stress out too much, but let's see which one is correct. She did a mistake or she made a mistake. We had a similar question in the other slide. And if you said B, you are correct. You would not say she did a mistake, you would say she made a mistake. And this is the second one, so let's see which one's correct on this one. He explained me the rules, / B is he explained the rules to me. And the correct answer is also B. So these are very tricky, especially when you're learning language in different grammar rules. But eventually you'll get the hang of, how everything is. So even if you didn't get these 2 questions right, I really hope you don't give up and you don't lose hope at all, because there's so much room for growth, and failure is the first step to success. So I have an action item for everyone watching today, and your goal is to research collocations and write a paragraph, including the one you may have found. It could be in the slideshow, it could be one that you maybe read somewhere or you researched, and I just hope that you write a paragraph including it. It can be about whatever, just try to include this in your paragraph. So this will help you learn to incorporate it more naturally in your speech. thank you guys for sitting with me while I've talked about English. If you, again, we have our Discord linked below, so if you want to join our server, please feel free to. We'd love to see you there, and thank you again for listening. Have an amazing day or night. Bye!